Welcome to MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. Each week, I talk with industry leaders on both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing right now. We'll hear all about successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's episode of MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. I'm Paul, the host of the show from Javelin Content Management, and if you haven't come along before, what we do in this show is try and do one of two things. We either try and help small to medium business owners do more of the right things in their marketing practice so that they can get themselves out of that hole that they're currently stuck in, that plateau that you've reached, and take yourself to that next level, give you some ideas, things that work, things that don't. Or we're trying to showcase some fantastic marketing and sales experts who might be the right choice for you at that point where you've grown to the next level. There's lots of takeaways from the show, so please sit back, grab your coffee, and have a drink. Our guest for today's show is the amazing Chris Hallett, who is Managing Director at Wave Communications Group. Hi, Chris.
Hi there. How are you doing?
We are good. We are good. It is a pleasant summer afternoon in Britain, which is unusual, I'm pleased to say. I came out of the cinema with my son earlier on, and it had been pitch black and cold and aircon on, and I expected to come out and have more of the same when I got out. It was sunny, it was beaming down, and I thought, wow, summer has finally arrived. We have that 1 week in England, and you've just come back from the caravan as well, Chris, right?
Yeah, I've been up in we've got a caravan up in Abersock, so we've left it up there until October, so we came back last night, and then we're back up there Friday night, probably till about Tuesday. It definitely is balancing life and work. Both my wife and I run businesses, so we're working up there, and also we're enjoying life up there.
And something that I grew up around that environment when I was a kid as well, and caravanning and motorhomes and camping, something I'm definitely big on. I think the outside is a fantastic influence, especially on the next generation as well. So to come back to your background a little bit, Chris, I'll fast forward through some of the key points, and then I've got a couple of questions about how you got where you are, because I genuinely, if people are listening along to this, Chris has a very unique pathway to where he is right now, and I love it. I love it because I have a similar sort of, not travel the same path, but I have a very similar sort of, doesn't seem to make sense until you get to the end of it all, and then you put it all together, and it's a lovely story. Chris, once upon a time, was a musician in the army, and a bit of a fun fact for everyone is Chris played at Prince Charles and Lady Diana's wedding. From there, he moved into a 30-year career in corporate IT project management, then transitioned into coaching, which for an IT person there are not many people that make that leap from IT to coaching. Specialising in NLP, hypnosis, and NLP coaching as well. And so Chris now specialises in helping coaches and trainers generate consistent income by combining coaching, personal development, marketing, and sales, as he now informs me as we've joined the show. So a fantastic, interesting journey that you've been on, Chris. If I can point you back to that career as a musician in the army, like how did you end up in corporate IT from that? Where's the joy?
I'll go back to before the army, because I started playing trombone when I was 11. I watched the Glenn Miller Story, the famous American band leader, and I thought, that's the instrument for me. Academic work for me and school didn't really get on. I was interested in playing music, listening to music. I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all the classic 70s rock bands, and listening to orchestras and military concert band music. And I loved sailing, and that was my passion. So the natural thing for me to do, not being academic, was to play music. And because of, as with a lot of people in their early lives, they got told they weren't very good at things, they'd never achieve anything. And I thought music was just going to be my lot. And it was great. I did some fantastic things, went to play in some fantastic places. But I realised I was missing something. And it was around about 1980, I think. So I'd have been early 20s, and I wanted to move away from music because I'd really got bored with it. My hobby had become my job, And I was chatting to a lady one night, and she worked in, it was then called computing, because it was the days of computers that were the size of most people's houses, and disk drives were like washing machines. Anyway, we got chatting, explained my background music, and she said, I think you should look at a career in computing. This was before it was called IT. And I said, limiting belief here. I'm no good at maths, I'm not academic. She said, it doesn't matter. Music is logical, it's ordered, and it's structured. And that's exactly what things like computer programming are. And it was like lighting the blue touch paper on a firework, because boom, it was off. Just prior to that, I'd done some correspondence courses and did some O-levels, which predate GCSEs. And that one conversation said to me, you can actually do something fantastic with your life. So that set me off on that course, and I did programming course, and it was all remote. It was because we hadn't got PCs and iPads and stuff. It was done on A4 sheets of paper, and you wrote all the programs and sent it off. It was really labor intensive. But what that did, it gave me a qualification in programming. And it enabled me to leave the army and get a job, not as a programmer, though. I was hired by a computer manufacturer, I think for a couple of reasons. One, I'd shown some aptitude. I'd done a qualification that was computer related. And also the recruiting manager was ex-army. And I think those three things together, that gave me the springboard. And then from there, I progressed and I moved into programming. And after that, I moved into project management, where I spent the bulk of my IT career delivering some big projects.
And project management's an interesting field in its own. It's almost an entire, well, it's not almost an entire, it is an entire industry. And when I came out of the retail world about 5-6 years ago, somebody said to me, oh, you'd make a good program manager. You'd make a good project manager. And I was like, they deal with IT projects, right? At the time, that's where I was talking to. And then I found out they had project managers in retail, and you had project managers. And then, but it's not something you think about. You hear the title project manager, and a lot of people shoebox it into one vertical that they're aware of. But actually, when you get involved in that industry, the skills and abilities that you have are widely recyclable and reusable and transferable into lots of other industries. And I guess that's where you went with leadership, right?
Yeah, my daughter spent many years, and she's moved into commercial management now, but she works in the heritage sector, and she spent about 7 years running historic events for a couple of organisations, and her job is managing projects, but she's running events. They're still projects because they have to open on time. They have a start, they have a benefit, and they have a cost.
And so, I guess, what triggered you to have what was the interest? Where did the interest come from in becoming certified trainer for NLP and hypnosis then? Because that's not something a lot of people would associate with project management.
I've only ever come across 2 other people who have made the similar jump. So I had a traumatic experience, and it was one of those unique opportunities. I'd left permanent employment, and I was freelance. So I was doing a lot of consultancy projects. Cut a long story short, I got asked by a money man who owned a number of businesses to run a startup business for him. And he said, I don't want a consultant, I want a managing director. And a mutual friend, Philippa, who had introduced me, he said, Philippa says you're the man, and I want you to run this business. How much do you want? Name your price. So he gave me a blank check. Wow. And so I accepted the challenge. And about 6-7 months later, he called me into the office and said, this isn't working. I'm overpaying you, and you can either work for 6 months for free, or there's the door. Wow. So I made my decision on the spot, but I did consult with the Institute of Directors what I should do. And so I resigned, and it affected me so much. I couldn't work. I've been very successful in project and program management. And it was the talk that was going on between this ear and this ear internally. Who do you think you are? Good, you can't do it. And I actually knew a lady at the time. She was an NLP master coach. She's now also a certified trainer. So I went to her to do what's called a breakthrough program, which is where you release all the negative emotions that have held you back, or limiting beliefs. And I came out of it feeling about 3 foot taller, and a big weight had been lifted. And I thought, this is so amazing. I have to find out how to do it myself. So then signed up to do NLP practitioner, which is, there's 4 things. There's NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and NLP coaching. A year later, I did master practitioner, but I was still working as like a project management consultant as well. So I was juggling both lives, but I always wanted to go full time. And it was 4.5 years ago when my first wife died. That was also like a trigger for me to say, I'd spent 30 years in corporate IT. I didn't want to do that anymore. This is now the time to go full time. So I then again signed up to become a certified trainer of all of those 4 things. And because of the pandemic, it got moved around, but lo and behold, got certified in all of those 4 disciplines as a trainer, which is a lot of people who have done a master's actually value being a certified trainer more than their degree and their master's, because of the amount of work that goes into it.
It's certainly a lot of dedication to get where you wanted to be. And it, like a lot of people sat out there listening, I'd imagine that's really what sets you apart from a lot of others, and why you've managed to be a great success is that kind of tenacity and grit to go after whatever you set your mind to, right?
Yeah, I estimate to get to that level, you put about 1,000 hours of studying. And to become and I always use the word certified trainer, because there are some people who call themselves trainers who aren't. So to become a certified trainer, the route I've taken, as well as doing all that study to become a practitioner, master practitioner, you do a 2-week intensive course on how to be a world-class trainer and a world-class public speaker. You then sit 4 written papers. It's handwritten. No, can't even take a smartphone in there to look up answers. It's closed book on the NLP body of knowledge. You have to get 75%. Then you have to do 2 presentations, which have to be spot on with the core NLP content. And then the master trainer who's going to certify you will say, Chris, in my case, Sally's your demo subject. Now do me a demo of values elicitation with no preparation. It's intensive.
So to somebody who's out there they're currently struggling with their own business, they're wondering how they can make a breakthrough, and they have no idea what NLP is, how do you help, or how would somebody who was NLP trained, how would they help somebody like that? Because obviously you work with coaches themselves of NLP, so you're the next level up, but obviously you will have worked with business owners directly and people in that sort of situation.
I say I do work with business owners who are not coaches, but if somebody's struggling in their business, this is one of the reasons why I created the 6M growth model, because one of those core pillars in that model is mindset. Because you can have the best marketing in the world, you can have the best sales team in the world, but if it's your business and you have a limiting belief that you can't be successful, or that your team are underperforming, or anything else that you're convincing yourself of, then you can bring in the best sales and marketing people in the world. But it's all down to your beliefs about what you can and you can't do, and about what your team can do. So that's typically where I would start, is actually speaking with the person and find out what's going on in, when I say their life, both their personal life and their business life, because the two are inextricably linked. And it's understanding, and I often detect this through their language. People say, oh, I could never do what you've done. Oh, I can't work in IT. I don't understand computers. Those are all limiting beliefs. And one of the biggest limiting beliefs I had is that I didn't have a degree. In November, I'll be in Westminster to graduate at the age of 66 with a degree in marketing. So anything's possible.
And that's the other thing that I find fascinating is you have such a unique skill set. I was going to say broad. It's not broad. They're all very niche skill sets, but you've brought 3 skill sets together that is very unique in one person. In many businesses, if they work with a coach, they have a coach.
Yeah.
If they work with a chief marketing officer, a fractional marketing officer, they have a marketing officer.
Yeah.
If they have a sales team that's generally outsourced, or they have somebody who they've trained to be good at it, and you're combining all 3 What sort of results do your clients come out with once they've worked with you? I know it's an ongoing process constantly, but like, what does that look like?
Some of the people I've worked with, in fact, the very first client I ever worked with, she was a part-time actress and an image consultant, so did all the color matching and that. And she hired me as her coach, and we did about 6 sessions. And after the first, I think it's the first, so there were weekly sessions. After the second session, no, sorry, it was after the first month, her sales had rocketed from £1,000 a month to £3,000 a month. And we hadn't even talked about marketing and sales. We'd not even touched that area because it was all about how her beliefs had shifted. Another client of mine, he grew his business to 25 million a year, 25 million revenue a year. And he's also a very successful podcast host. So the results come in many different, because we're looking at different areas of their life and business. The results come in from different areas. And I've worked with a lot of people who have. One guy I worked with, he was actually an employee of a company. He wasn't even a business owner. With the work I did with him over 6 weeks, he gained a new promotion and a 25% pay increase.
So to play devil's advocate then, some people
Yeah.
would say, and so first of all, I'm absolutely on the side of coaching. I love coaching. I have never been fortunate enough to be in that position where I can afford my own, but someday it's coming. And I have a lot of friends who are coaches, and I get bits of free coaching from people, right? Like I love it. But some people on the other side of the fence say that perhaps that person was already ready to break their own self-limiting beliefs and came to you just to confirm all of that. So is that true with some people, would you say? Or is it a bit more drawn out than that?
I believe everybody needs a coach. I have coaches. I've actually got a session later on today with a coach. She's an American lady. And I had this row in my own mind about, should I concentrate on business owners or in fact, it was, do I concentrate on business owners or people who are just NLP coaches and can't mobilize their business? And I was going round and round in circles with this. And I have all that experience and knowledge to do this. Yet she helped me unlock that. So my message to everybody is, it doesn't matter where you are, consider hiring a coach and hire a professional coach, because a lot of people call themselves coaches and they aren't coaches. They don't actually have any accreditation and they don't have coaching skills.
It's interesting. So obviously you built the business growth accelerator in the 6M growth model, which you've already alluded to, in order to bring all of this together. So are they your own unique framework and strategy, or is that kind of something you've built upon?
That's my own model. I created it. And it was something I actually started work on many years ago, because I knew that this is when I was going through my NLP certification. I knew that if every business owner not necessarily became an NLP practitioner, but had someone who coached them in the techniques of NLP, their business would skyrocket. So when I did I did a couple of things recently. I did the marketing degree. I did a growth coaching certification, which actually gave me a professional coaching certification or accreditation. It was during that whole process, it was like a light bulb moment. I thought initially there were 5 things that you need to look at to grow a business. You need to have a mission. It's to do with your mindset, marketing, how you manage the business, because a lot of people don't really have a structure to their business, and how you measure the results. And then more recently, I thought that, marketing, the thing that's missing is the sales piece. So it is yes, all those things exist in the public domain, but the work that sits underneath it is my own unique framework. And the way that starts is with an assessment. So it's a questionnaire. We look at each of those 6 areas, all of it scored, and it gives you a percentage and an overall percentage. Because every business is at a different stage, whether you're a startup or you've been going for 10 years. Most people I come across want to increase revenue. So it makes sense to focus on the sales and marketing. But what we do with people is create a 90-day plan that focuses on one of those specific areas that's going to have the biggest impact on their business. And then we go through the cycle again.
Hi, and thanks for joining us for the show. I'm Paul, founder here at Javelin Content Management. We specialize in getting ideas out of your head, down into video, and out to your social media through repurposing and efficient content strategies. If you want to find out how you can convert your ideal audience into paying customers, reach out to us, javelincontent.com, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
And how would you say that because obviously as a coach and as a trainer, and especially with regards to that being around NLP, you obviously have quite a firm understanding of why people do some of the batshit crazy things that we do rather than following logic, right? And I know this firsthand. I love behavioral science and NLP. I think it's just that the principles and the fundamentals are fascinating. How does that impact on them then, the people that you're coaching and training, reaching their own audience and being able to implement those ideas themselves?
If you think about everything we do is a behavior. If those people aren't reaching the audience that they want, then look at what you're actually doing, because a lot of people think that behaviors are something we inherit, we're born with, and they're not. They're things that we develop. And because they're behaviors, we can change them. Whether that behavior is drinking too much of a drink or eating too much food or procrastination, they're all behaviors that we can change. And so my message to people is also, if you're not getting the results that you want, then look inside of yourself first and work on yourself before you start working on everybody else around you.
That when I think back to when I first left corporate world, I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs. And if you're watching this, he gave me that opportunity. And he always tells me off for me saying that, because he was like, no, you took the opportunity, Paul. You grasped the opportunity. You said yes. You made it happen. But for the longest time, we talked on a weekly basis, and he would mentor me a bit, which is ironic because he's my age and he's not a coach in any way, shape or form. He's just a guy from a different walk of life. And I used to come out with it all the time. I'd be like, I don't know how I do what I do I'm not good enough to do this. I'm just a guy from retail. I'd go on sales calls and I'd introduce myself as a guy who had no relevant background. And I still do, but I make it my strength now. Like, I'll make it that's why I'm different. I'm unique. I'm out of the box, etc. And that mindset has completely shifted. And I think that's when I talk to people who are successful. LinkedIn outreach is a prime example, Chris, right? When I talk to people about their LinkedIn outreach, so many people come at it from a perspective, whether they realize it or not, of being desperate for the sales, not to add value or be curious. And those people have made that mental shift in mindset to be curious. And yes, I do need the money, but we're going to put that to one side, and I'm going to be curious about this person first and add value to them where I can. We all come together and go, why can't everybody do this? And it's that mental mindset shift, right?
It is. I approach sales calls as a conversation, and I go into it and I say this to myself: I'm financially independent and I don't need the business. That takes the pressure off wanting the sale then. I've just developed the thing I've added in last is a sales process which creates an environment where people want to buy from you. You don't have to actually, and this has happened to me a couple of times. I've done a couple of sales calls and I've not even asked them for a decision, and they've said, what are your bank details? I've got 3 questions. Question 1, question 2, question 3, what's your bank details? I'll transfer you the money. And I've not asked for the sale. It's a great position to be in.
It's game changing. It's game changing.
Yeah.
To come back to the questions that I ask every guest, and it's fascinating to see the trends in the answers to these questions as we've gone through time over the last. You'll be guest 27 now, Chris. So we're getting through people quite quickly now. What's one marketing practice that you wish business owners would just stop using right now? Is there something that particularly gets you go, gets you annoyed, gets you on a soapbox? I don't know. What is it you wish they'd stop doing?
Social media has been a game changer for people. What people are just totally reliant on social media, down to the point of people will be signing up to do training on how to use LinkedIn. And they haven't even established if their audience is on LinkedIn. Or it could be Facebook, it could be TikTok, it could be YouTube. And people have gone down this tunnel of I've got to use this platform. What about all the other types of marketing you can use? People use There's some great results being obtained by direct marketing, mail shots, events, networking, this speaking, doing Facebook Live. I say Facebook because it's the easiest way to do a live, but doing a live broadcast in some way. So yeah, in answer to your question, it's stop focusing on one tactic and have a broad range of tactics that actually support your vision, your mission, your business goals, and your marketing goals.
I like it. I like it. And if I'm going to flip that on its head, then what's one thing, and it can't be the opposite, that you wish people would do more with their marketing? What one thing that people are missing in their toolbox quite often?
I think it's quality content. I've seen a massive, when I first started writing, I was on a platform called Easy in Articles. I think it's gone now. And the quality of the content on there was amazing. And people are posting stuff on social media that is nonsense. I saw somebody recently who was about to quit as a coach, and I looked at their content, and I couldn't see what they did other than helping women. And that's a common theme. I help people with this vague thing. There was no evidence of anything that they offered for sale or as a free download or anything. And the quality of the content there isn't any value there. It's about I think you've got to provide, if you think about the customer journey, you've got to provide value to people to educate them before they're going to buy from you.
It was interesting. I was listening to podcast. It was Daniel Priestley was on Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO the other day. And I've had multiple clients from Daniel Priestley. I will get him on this podcast at some point. I'm determined. Daniel, I am. Been in touch with your team, but they won't answer the bloody emails the second time if they told me to, sods. But Daniel made a great point around waiting list. And I think this ties in nicely to your point, Chris. People go gung-ho on creating an idea, but they don't actually even know whether the idea works, first of all, or not. And what he suggests is making a piece of value, a lead magnet of some sort that you give away for free. And if they enjoy that and they think that what you're offering then would be useful, even if it's not live yet, sign up to my wait list. And if people are signed up to your wait list, you've tested your idea and there's value in it. It might need refining and you've got a captive audience who want it. And I think that's a beautiful idea.
That goes back to sell it before you build it. And the best example of that I've ever seen, and it might be before a lot of our audience was born even, was when Bill Gates released the first version of Windows and he presented it in America. It was a prototype that didn't actually work properly, but he bought it. Everybody was sold into the idea and then he developed it.
We do that with every fresh, big iteration of AI, right? Oh, look, here's a robot that talks back to you and it talks in almost perfect English. It's not pre-recorded, somebody talking for it at all. But look, it's genuinely thinking about it while you're doing it. No, it's not. We're not there yet. We probably are getting there now, to be fair, like 6 months after that happened. But yeah, I love it. Chris, it has been a genuine pleasure, my friend. How can people reach out to you if they want to learn more?
You can email me at chris@wavecomsgroup.co.uk. If you're on social media, I'm mostly on Facebook and LinkedIn. Connect with me. I'm easy to find. My sort of URL is Chris J. Hallett. That's probably the easiest way. Happy to have a conversation and discuss your needs, even if it's a thank you very much and we part company. That's one of my missions in life, is to provide value to people.
Todd Capone said it really well. We had him on the show a couple of weeks back, and one of his tenets is disqualify hard, right? And he brings in a metric and it comes from the sales world. So it's really interesting to bring it to a marketing practice. But what's your time to lose? Everybody focuses on time to win in their pipeline. What's your time to lose? And I think it's a great mission to have, is if I'm not going to be of use to you and I'm not a good fit, then let's hold our hands up at the very beginning. And I'll try and connect you with some people who might be a good fit, but will not waste any time on each other either. And I think that's something we could all do with a lot more of in this world. There's so many time sucks and time wastes, and let's not waste time for each other. Fantastic. Thanks for being a great guest, Chris. I've really enjoyed that chat. And if you're watching along in the audience, you're listening to us on your favorite podcast directory, the important thing, please remember to subscribe or give us a follow. And more importantly than that, if you know somebody who would, like Chris, be a fantastic guest, whether that's a SME business owner who has been through pains and challenges themselves and would be happy to share some, or a marketer who's got years of experience or a fascinating journey, then we'd love to have them on the show. Drop me an email, drop me a link, and we'll get them along. Thanks very much, Chris. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.